If you told me a year ago that one snowy night would turn my entire life upside down, I would have laughed. Nothing dramatic ever happened to me. I was a single dad who worked too much, slept too little, and ate way too many microwave dinners. But on Christmas Eve, things changed. Snow was coming down so hard it felt like driving through static on an old TV. My son, Caleb, sat in the passenger seat, glued to the window the way kids do when they're looking for magic. "That house has lights shaped like candy canes," he said. "And that one's got a polar bear wearing sunglasses." I forced a smile. I hadn't felt real Christmas spirit since my wife Melanie passed 19 months earlier. Our tradition used to be piling into the truck and driving around to look at lights, so I kept doing it for Caleb's sake, even though half my heart still lived in the past. "You ready to head home, bud?" I asked. Caleb shook his head. "One more street. Please." And because those big brown eyes are my weakness, I said, "One more." I turned down a back road near the edge of town. No houses. No lights. Just snow swirling in the beam of my headlights. And then I slammed the brakes so hard the truck fishtailed. "Dad!" Caleb gasped. "What is that?" Two small shapes were curled up on the side of the road. At first I thought maybe dogs, or bags of trash lost in the storm. But no. My stomach bottomed out. They were kids. Two little girls, huddled together like they were trying to disappear into each other. I threw the truck into park, grabbed my coat, and ran. They couldn't have been older than 8. Identical twins. Hair stiff with ice, clothes soaked through, cheeks hollow. And the bruises. God. "Hey," I said softly, kneeling in the snow. "Sweethearts, can you hear me?" One lifted her head with effort. "Please, don't take us back," she whispered. "She'll hurt us." That was the moment something ancient and angry inside me woke up. "I'm not taking you anywhere," I said firmly. "I'm getting you warm. I'm getting you safe." They were so light it felt like picking up cardboard. Caleb was already in the back seat, spreading blankets. "Dad, hurry," he said, voice shaking. "They're freezing." When I placed them in the truck, their bodies were trembling so violently the whole seat rattled. Caleb wrapped his arms around them both, trying to share his warmth. "What's your names?" he asked gently. "Lila," one whispered. "And Ellie," the other breathed. "Okay, Lila and Ellie," I said, pulling onto the main road. "We're heading home." And then Lila grabbed my arm with surprising strength. "Please don't take us to a hospital," she begged. "She'll find us there." That chilled me more than the storm outside. I didn't know who she was. But I knew one thing. Whoever had hurt these kids was not getting them back. Not tonight. Not ever. When we got home, I drew them a warm bath, nothing hot, slow warming only, and Caleb brought them sips of water the way he remembered nurses doing for his mom. After they'd eaten 2 bowls of soup each, and some color finally returned to their cheeks, I sat at the table with them. "I need to understand what happened," I said gently. "I won't make you go anywhere you don't want to. But you need help." They exchanged a silent, haunted look. Finally, Lila spoke. "We live with Aunt Miriam," she whispered. "And Uncle Todd. And our cousin. They say we're too much trouble. That food's expensive. That we owe them for letting us live there." Ellie added quietly, "We get 1 meal a day. Sometimes none. We clean the whole house. If we cry, she locks us in the garage." My jaw clenched so hard it hurt. "And this morning?" I asked. "We asked for seconds," Lila said, eyes down. "Just oatmeal." She got mad. Said greedy kids needed to learn to earn their own food. She threw us outside. Told us not to come back until we learned gratitude. In a snowstorm. Caleb burst. Ellie nodded. She said if we froze, it'd be God teaching us a lesson. I had to step into the kitchen for a moment, pretending I needed water, because the rage that hit me. I swear my hands shook. When I returned, Lila and Ellie were curled into Caleb, clinging like he was the first safe person they'd ever met. I made a decision then. They weren't going back. Not tomorrow. Not next week. Not ever. The following morning, Christmas morning, Caleb and I did something I hadn't planned. We brought out the old artificial tree, the one Melanie always insisted on putting up even when money was tight and energy was tighter. We decorated it quietly while the twins slept on the couch. Caleb whispered, Mom would want them to have a Christmas. I put a hand on his shoulder. Yeah, bud. She would. We wrapped what little we had, Caleb's old toys, a pair of fuzzy socks from last year, a book I'd meant to return to the library months ago. It wasn't much. But the way those girls looked when they woke up and saw that tree, you'd think we'd given them the world. Is this for us? Ellie asked, barely above a breath. It's for all of us, I said. They opened presents with gentle hands, like they were afraid the gifts might vanish. They sipped hot chocolate like it was a luxury they weren't worthy of. And for the first time, I heard them laugh. Really laugh. But good moments never last long when a real villain is still out there. 3 days later, I met that villain. Child Services opened a case. Police began their investigation. But as anyone who's dealt with the system knows, nothing moves fast. And Aunt Miriam, the woman who had nearly killed these children, was out on bail within 24 hours. I'll never forget the first phone call. A blocked number. A voice like ice. You have something that belongs to me, she hissed. I didn't answer. I just hung up. Added a lock to the front gate. Kept the kids close. Meanwhile, the police warned me. She's denying abuse. Without physical proof, it's her word against theirs. Not good enough. Not for me. Not for what these kids had lived through. So I went looking. To the house where Lila and Ellie had lived. To talk to neighbors. Teachers. Anyone. But no one wanted to get involved, until I knocked on the door of a worn-down duplex 2 blocks away. The man who opened it looked exhausted. Messy hair. Eyes full of guilt. You Todd? I asked. He nodded weakly. I'm the man who found the twins on the road. His face crumpled right then. He leaned against the doorframe like he couldn't stand under the weight of his own choices. I tried to help them, he whispered. But Miriam, she controlled everything. If I fed them, she'd beat them worse. She said they had to pay their keep. Why didn't you call the police? I asked, my voice harder than I intended. Todd looked like a man drowning. I wanted to, he said. I really did. But I didn't know how to fight her. She's vicious. Then he said something that made my skin crawl. But my son, he saw everything. He's been having nightmares too. He's ready to talk. A small voice spoke from behind him. Dad, you promised. We can't stay silent anymore. A boy stepped forward, 12, maybe 13. Eyes red from crying. I saw her lock Lila in the garage for crying, he said softly. And I saw her hit Ellie when she spilled dish soap. And I saw her throw them outside on purpose. Todd swallowed hard. I recorded things, he whispered. I didn't have courage to act, but I couldn't delete them either. He gave me a flash drive. Take it. Get them somewhere safe. Make sure she never hurts anyone again. I thanked him. Walked out. Sat in my truck. And just stared at that little piece of plastic. Because inside it was everything. And I knew we were going to win. The courtroom. Courtrooms always smell like stale paper and nerves. The twins clung to my hands as we sat behind the prosecutor. Across the room, Miriam sat with perfect posture and a smug little smile that made me want to walk across the aisle and no. Control. For the first hour, her lawyer tried every trick in the book. These children are confused. They're traumatized. My client is a strict guardian, not abusive. Kids exaggerate. They lie. And the judge seemed to be buying it. Then the door opened. Todd walked in. The courtroom went silent. He walked to the stand. Sat down. And spoke with the kind of broken honesty that can only come from a man who finally found courage too late. He described the beatings. The starvation. The punishments. The cold nights. Then he said the words that sealed everything. I brought evidence. On the screen behind him, video began to play. Miriam screaming. Miriam yanking Ellie by the hair. Miriam slapping food out of Lila's hands. Miriam dragging both girls out the door, shoving them into the cold. Gasps filled the courtroom. The judge's jaw clenched. When the bailiffs cuffed her, she didn't look smug anymore. She didn't look powerful. Or righteous. Or justified. She looked small. And very, very guilty. Miriam was sentenced to 15 years. Todd filed for divorce. His son started therapy. And the twins, they finally stopped flinching when someone raised a hand to wave. 3 months later, the adoption paperwork went through. Lila and Ellie became Lila Grace Hammond. And Ellie Rose Hammond. My daughters. Caleb was proud to call himself a big brother. And for the first time since Melanie died, our house felt alive again. Warm. Full. Christmas lights didn't hurt anymore. One cold morning in February, I took all 3 kids to the park. They ran, laughing, chasing each other across frozen grass. I sat on the bench, hands wrapped around a cup of gas station coffee. A woman beside me smiled. Beautiful family, she said. I looked at them, really looked. My kids. And for the first time in a long time, I felt whole. Now here's the question I want you to answer in the comments. If you found 2 abused kids freezing on the side of the road, and the system said, we don't have enough evidence, would you follow the rules, or would you break them to protect the children? Tell me what you think is right. Because not everyone agrees, and I want to hear your take.